What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the new news on Immortals Fenyx Rising 2, the sequel, obviously, to the kind of sleeper hit, a game that people really did love, and a game that I still have not played, but I have it downloaded. I actually have it downloaded on Xbox. I think it's on both Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. I will get to this gem eventually, even though I have seen some people say, you know what, why even bother at this point with the sequel getting canned? So this happened last month in July. We had heard the reports that the game that's been in development for actually quite a while, we're going to go over some of the actual details, was canceled. Ubisoft canceled this actually pretty different kind of IP, something that's not Assassin's Creed, not Prince of Persia, not Splinter Cell. It's kind of its own original thing. I mean, it was a spin-off of Assassin's Creed, but this game, the sequel, would have taken it and really kind of made it its own thing. So we got some new details today as to what this game kind of was going to be, and we'll read it out, and I'll talk about my opinion of it once we're done. Two sources familiar with the game's development talked about the project, and it was planned to be a version of the Polynesian archipelago made primarily from Ubisoft's Quebec studio, but developed alongside Polynesian consultants. While the first game was developed in a little over a year, which is nuts, Immortals 2 is taking longer because of its scope, revisions to the Assassin's Creed engine the new game would use, and the team was kept small as publisher Ubisoft focused resources on Assassin's Creed Red. By spring of this year, several playable hours were available in an internal demo, and the company was at a juncture about whether to fund the project or nix it. This character would gain elemental powers, shapeshift, while gaining new tattoos based on the choices they made as the game's story progressed. Players would be hopping from island to island. Again, it was inspired by the Polynesian concept of mana. Players would have to manage how their in-game actions impacted the land around them. The goal was to make this game a very different game from the rest of the Ubisoft portfolio. Ubisoft open-world games typically take place across a map that's filled with quest markers, and players are often guided with a compass or arrow that directs them to their next objective. For this game, though, the developers plan to drop a lot of those helpers in favor of requiring players to search harder to figure out where to go, tracking animals, following wind, or navigating the position of the stars in the in-game sky. A core inspiration was Elden Ring. It also would be a departure from its predecessor, dropping the first game's narrator, losing its emphasis on solving puzzles, and offering a more malleable story in which player choice is significant. The new game's graphics was going to be more realistic, and the company considered whether it should even have been an original game or a sequel. It also was very expensive, and concerns over cost as a sequel or not did it in. That's what actually got it canceled. In July, the news of the cancellation broke, but they said that the expertise and technology that these teams developed will serve as an accelerator for the development of other games, basically. The cancellation caught some of them by surprise, and they go into Ubisoft has been struggling and kind of putting all their eggs in the Assassin's Creed basket. And that ending there, that's what I kind of want to focus on. And we've talked about this before. We talked about it when the reports of this game being canceled came out. It's sad, and I can say it's sad even without playing the first game. It's sad that, you know, the first one, yes, you know, originally intended as Assassin's Creed DLC, spun off into its own game. Like they said, just took about a year to make that game. This game was really going to have its identity, or its own identity, be something truly different. And these are the sad things in the industry that you just don't want to see happen. You don't, I mean, this is a little bit of a different situation, right? But like when a new original IP game, say, comes out from a studio that normally just kind of does the, you know, the generic, they do their own franchises they've been doing for so long. And if that game were to fail, the new one, well, that kind of sends a message to the publishers or to the executives, the money people, right? And they say, oh, people don't want anything new, right? They only want the same thing shoved in their throats over and over again. And this is a little bit different because it didn't get to like the selling phase of it, but it's kind of the same thing where we're going to get like 50. And look, I like Assassin's Creed, okay? Haven't been a huge fan of like where they've taken the franchise, but I give all of these games a chance. I will be giving, you know, Mirage, Red, all of these games. I'm going to give them a chance. But do we need, like, there's reports of like 8, 9, 10 Assassin's Creed games, okay? In the next 6, 7 years, you're going to get at least one a year. And if you count VR projects or multiplayer, you might get 2 Assassin's Creed projects a year. You got the Splinter Cell stuff, you got Prince of Persia, nostalgia. Again, like, they're fine, but it's the same franchises over and over. And when you finally have one that kind of caught people by surprise and was good and people liked that it was different, and then you have a chance to make a sequel and make it even more different, make it really its own thing, and you get too scared. That's really what you got, too scared, because the prices for developing it were too high and you didn't know if you could make the money back. I mean, I get it. Like, if you're a company that's struggling, which obviously Ubisoft is, you maybe can't take that. Like, what they're doing does make sense. They're a company that is struggling. They can't take risks. They have to rely on their big dogs to fund them and to make them money until somebody buys them or they make a little extra revenue off of Assassin's Creed, and then they can make something kind of unique and then go, forward from there. That's the situation they're in. It's annoying. It's bad. They did it to themselves, but it is the truth. And so I understand, like, how this stuff happened, because it's exactly what I just said, right? They're a struggling company that I think normally you would maybe take a risk on something like this, but they obviously can't. So it's disappointing. And I wish the Assassin's Creed projects well, or good luck, because I want, again, maybe if they make some extra money off of those things, they can invest it in something new, like a literal new IP. Maybe you can bring this thing back. Again, if the game had several hours that were playable and I mean, canceled, it's not necessarily shelved, right? I don't know if you, like, delete all those files or if they still exist somewhere. Maybe you can pick it up in a couple of years. Maybe it's not fully, that's a very optimistic point of view, but, maybe I'm in an optimistic mood right now. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.